Hello everyone, let us continue with the chapter Human Health and Diseases Part 17. And today we are going to learn about the cells that are involved in the acquired immunity. Cells involved in acquired immunity. So normally the following cells, right, which are involved in implementation of acquired immunity, they are normally called as what? Lymphocytes. So what are they called as? Lymphocytes. Okay, so normal human being possesses trillions of lymphocytes, right, in the body. When you just look at the responses, immune responses, the primary and the secondary response of the immune system, they initiate the production of these cells, right? So the response is given by these lymphocytes, and there are two types of lymphocytes here. Two types of lymphocytes. Okay, so one you call it as B lymphocytes, and the other one is called as T lymphocytes. Okay, and both the lymphocytes actually they are produced in the bone marrow, and the production of all these lymphocytes, right? So production of these lymphocytes, the process, you call this as hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis. And first one, when you look at this B lymphocytes, here by the name B, right? Bone marrow. So don't forget, B stands for what? Bone marrow. Here the lymphocytes that are produced in the bone marrow. Okay, that is why here you call this to be what? B lymphocytes. Right? And it provides what? Humoral immunity. Or you call that to be what? Antibody mediated immunity. Antibody mediated immunity. But when you look at this T lymphocytes, the stem cells that are seen in the bone marrow, what happens? They remain immature itself, right? They are not matured. So they are called as immature lymphocytes. So what happens here? These immature lymphocytes, what is seen in the bone marrow, they move through the blood, via blood. Where it moves? It moves to the thymus. Okay, so this thymus is an endocrine gland, right? So these immature lymphocytes, they directly move through the blood, reach the thymus. Once it reaches the thymus, it gets its immunocompetency power, which can act against the antigen. Okay, so you call that to be immunocompetency. So once it reaches the thymus, it receives its immunocompetency power. Then you call those immature lymphocytes as what? T lymphocytes. So this T actually, it stands for what? Thymus. So you call this to be T lymphocytes. Okay. So this T lymphocytes only after, the immature lymphocytes only after receiving the thymus, only after getting its immunocompetency power, then you call that to be what? Educated. You should not forget the term educated, or here it is referred to as what? Immunocompetency. What is that immunocompetency? Which can act against the antigen, right? So these antibodies, right, they are nothing but they are called as B cells and T cells in common, or you use the term B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So here, this B lymphocytes, as they get matured in the bone marrow itself, you call that to be B lymphocytes, and it provides antibody mediated immunity. Whereas here, the immature lymphocytes that is present in the bone marrow moves to the thymus. After getting its immunocompetency power, you call that to be educated. Right, and you call that as what? Thymocytes also, or T lymphocytes. So this T lymphocyte, it provides cell-mediated immunity. Okay, so B lymphocytes provides antibody-mediated immunity, and T lymphocytes provide cell-mediated immunity. And one more thing you have to remember, the T cells do not produce antibodies. Only the B cells help the T cells to produce antibodies, right? T cells, they do not produce antibodies, but the B cells, they help the T cells to produce antibodies. And next we are going to study about the structure of an antibody molecule, right? So here when you just study about the antibody, this antibody, each antibody consists of 4 chains, okay? 2 light chains and 2 heavy chains. Okay, the light chains are smaller in size, whereas the heavy chains are longer in size, right? And normally here you use the term H2L2. So when you just look at this structure of an antibody, it is in the shape of Y. So it is in the shape of an alphabet Y, and this is a structure. and you call that to be a longer chain, and this light chain as small chain. Okay, so this is the heavy chain. I'll just mark it here, and this is the heavy chain, and this chain is the light chain. And towards this end, you call this to be what? Antigen binding site. Antigen binding site, or antigen binding fragment, FAB you call that to be, and this region is the carboxyl end, and here you call this to be what? N-terminal end. Okay, so this is the structure of an antibody molecule. Here the antigen comes and binds at this region. So when you just look at the lock and the key, right, only the particular key can open the lock, not all the keys, right? The same way here, this antigen can bind only with this antibody molecule. So in our body, normally, what happens? There are different type of antibodies are produced. You call this to be immunoglobulin. IG stands for what? Immunoglobulin. Immunoglobulin. Okay. So here there are IgA, then IgE, then IgD, then IgM, then IgG. Okay, so all these are types of immunoglobulin what is secreted in the body. Immunoglobulins are produced in the blood. The type of response what it provides, you call this to be humoral immune response. Humoral immune response. Okay, and I told you this antibody molecule is of H2L2 type. What is that? Two heavy chains are there. These heavy chains are longer in size, and L2 is light chain, which is smaller in size. Okay, and one more thing what you have to remember here is this both the chains, they have the variable region and the constant region. Okay, so here if you take this region, okay, so here this portion down, okay, the same way here also you call this to be what? Constant region. So this portion, okay, so this is constant region of what? Light chain. Constant region of light chain. Okay, and here this portion, the same way here, from here I'll just mark it with this color. Okay, from here to this portion, the whole portion, you call this to be what? Constant region of heavy chain. Constant region of heavy chain, and this is the variable region of light chain. Okay, and this is the variable region of heavy chain, right? So you have to be very clear when you differentiate the light chain and the heavy chain. And here I told you this antibody molecule, it is in the shape of the alphabet Y. Okay, and this portion, this region, you call it as Hinge region. Hinge region. Okay, this portion. And this antibody, it is a protein molecule which is produced in the body, which specifically inactivate the antigen, right? Or chemically these antibodies are glycoproteins. Okay, and then it consists of 4 peptide chains. And one more thing you have to remember here, one important statement here is all antibodies are immunoglobulins, but all immunoglobulins are not antibodies. Okay. Next is differences between humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. So when you just talk about the humoral immunity, it consists of antibodies that circulate in the body fluids. That is why here B cells provide humoral immunity, right? So the body fluids, normally you call it as humor. Okay. Then what about the cell-mediated immunity? It consists of lymphocytes, that is T cells and B cells, which attack on the antigen presented by the infected cells. And when you just look at the second point here, humoral immunity, it defends the body against viruses and bacteria. And here the cell-mediated immunity defends the body against all pathogens, including fungi and protozoans. And here the third point is humoral immunity. It does not respond to transplant. But what about the cell-mediated immunity? It reacts against the transplants. Okay, so if an organ is being transplanted, rejection will be seen. So that is why immunosuppressive drugs are given before transplantation. If you like this video, share, comment and subscribe my YouTube channel, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And the link is available in the description box. Thank you.